Hey there, Motorheads. Today is the day we get back on the Dana 60 build. And step one of today, anyways, is to get this 60 out and up on the table so we can take some measurements. So it's been living under my flat fender for quite a while. And I don't know, pull it out, get it on the table, and get to the CJ7 and start measuring. Being a full-size truck, these spring perches are pretty far apart, and if I just bolt it in, it'll be way off center. So there's some cutting and welding to do. That's coming later. But here we are, old 46 2A, 7's over there, conveniently located axle pile. So I'll bring you back when I get this thing up on the table. Alright folks, well, I'm going to go retrieve the axle. Feeling lazy, so I'm going to do it the lazy way with the skid loader. I am literally wearing this camera on a headband, so I can't tell if the picture's framed or anything. So let's just give it a try, and hopefully we'll get some usable footage out of this. She's a little sketchy. Good enough. Okay, after a bunch of measuring, I tried to shoot some footage of it, measuring on the stock Jeep, but it just didn't work out to hold the camera or with the head rig. So I'm just going to show you. I wrote up a little sheet here. My current Dana 44 is a hodgepodge of parts. It's a Dodge housing and a Dodge short side. The long side's cut down to use a Grand Wagoneer axle shaft. It's got some old, probably J10 flat top knuckles, 76 and earlier Chevy spindles, F-150 hubs and rotors, Chevy brakes, homemade high steer arms. It's been pretty good for me, but if all the numbers and everything sound a little bit off from other people's builds, well, that's why. It's just put together from stuff I had. So at any rate, I did my measurements, and my spring center to center came out at 27.75. A stock CJ is 28. It's very conceivable that 17, 18, 20 years ago when I built that thing, that I might have had to cheat those springs in a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch per side. The springs, they move around a little bit anyways on the bushings, so not a big deal. And then I did some calculations to get to the current wheel width, and basically I did the inside of the rotor to the inside of the rotor plus 2 times the top hat plus 2 times the hub thickness. So, because the rotor sits inside the hub, so you have to add in the hub thickness. I'll put a picture in right here. Okay, so that's my old outers you just saw a picture of. And it ends up being 62 and 5/8 wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface, approximate width of that front end that's in the Jeep right now. So, the Dana 60 side. If you're working on a Dana 60, I encourage you to go to billavista.com. Great website. Bill's a super knowledgeable guy. You know, we've exchanged some technology over the year, and he's just a great guy. So, at any rate, all the Chevys are 69-inch wide wheel mounting to wheel mounting surface. The Chevy 2 pads are 32-inch on center. That means I got to chop 4 inches off the Chevy housing to bring the spring pads to 28 inches on center. Now, the Chevy is a 3-inch wide pad, and what I'm actually going to probably end up doing is throwing in a 1/4-inch spacer in this side, and I don't know, I might grind these pads down or maybe just stick a spacer in over here to get it to be the 2.5. I'm sure I'll just tack weld whatever I put in here or capture it under the spring plate somehow so it can't get out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. At any rate, the resulting front end is going to be 65 inches wide, so that's about 2.5 inches wider than the current, so about 1.25 inches. You know, I'm give or take. Obviously, it's just slightly under that. Per side, it's going to stick out further, and I've got no issues with that for this Jeep. This is an off-road only Jeep, and nothing's gonna, you know, this isn't gonna mess up anything on it. It's gonna just be just fine. So that's the build I'm gonna do. I was contemplating trying to make it an inch narrower than that by cheating the spring to the outside of the pad because they're 1/2 inch narrower. I'd have a 1/2 inch spacer in here, but in the end, it's just not worth it. It's not, the holes would be tangent to each other. I'd have to fill this one in and drill the new one, and it's just not worth trying to do that to make it into a 64-inch wide front instead of a 65. It's just too much work for nothing of any significance. So that's where I'm at. I will bring you back when it's time to get cutting. Alright, it's time to make the cut. Show you my setup here. You can see I've got a block of wood. Doesn't look very precise, does it? Got the bandsaw. Here's what I'm checking. I'm just putting the level on top, making sure it's level. Put the level on the saw table. Make sure that's level. That's about it. Then you can see I've got a scribe mark there. Done a bunch of careful measuring. And I land the blade right on it. Somebody's going to say, "Oh no, I'll cut on the outside of the scribe mark," but no, I'd rather have it come up a few thousandths short because, as you can see, the tube is just kind of buried in there in the knuckle. I measured it; it's roughly 2/10, and I did take that into account when I laid it out. So from this surface here, that line is actually 4.20 inches. So getting ready to cut it. Here's Farley coming in to help. So I'll bring you back once it's cutting. The cutting won't be very exciting, but here goes. Alright, here we go, ready to cut. I'm kind of excited about this. This is the first actual project I'm cutting on this new saw. It's actually only done one cut so far. That's that little test cut piece there, and that's where you cut it, flip it 180, cut it again, and the thickness was 1.5 thou off. So that's pretty accurate for a bandsaw. Hopefully my setup's good. This should be pretty parallel too, but let's go. Coolant on. Turn on the down feed. Well, there we go. Got it cut off. The big question now is, how do you deal with this so you can reuse the knuckle? What I've done in the past is to bandsaw off right next to the weld, because of course the weld will wreck your bandsaw blade typically. Even with a good bimetal blade, it's not real good for it. Grind away until I see a crack all the way around. So I'd cut it off, grind till I saw a crack, and then I'd put in a Sawzall and cut that ring that was left into 2 or 3 pieces, and it would fall right out. I started doing that a long time ago, and it's always worked good for me. But this time I'm going to try something different. This time I'm going to chuck her up in the lathe and just try to bore away that material, because frankly you eat a lot of grinding dust when you do that method. So I got a good long boring bar. I think I can reach in there. I'll bring you back if either way, if that works out or if it doesn't. I'll show you how I get this stub out of the knuckle. Alright, here's my lathe set up. Show you a couple things quick. So this is the boring bar I did not cut to do the TXL cylinders. You see why now. I've got this thing set up with the 0 down here, so I can just stop the feed when basically as soon as the needle starts swinging, I can stop the feed. And you can see I'm going to be plenty far past that. I'll be actually right past the weld. It's a lot of overhang, but it's kind of the way it's got to be. Probably won't be able to take super heavy cuts, but beats eating grinding dust. And then, so I'm just running it in until I hit the 0 again, close enough, and show you it clears everything. You know how far in it is. So I'll just be running this on the power feed. I'll show you a couple passes on the live, full real-time video, and then I'll switch over to a time lapse. I have no idea how long this is going to take. First time I tried doing it this way, but I'm sure it's better than eating a ton of grinding dust, so I'm going to give it a try. This ought to be some good footage for you. Yeah, that's enough with the boring. Alright, I want to apologize, but somehow I lost the audio on the camera at this point. So I'm just showing you the knuckle after it's, the inner knuckle, inner C if you want to call it that, after it's done being bored. You can't really see in there, but if I had better lighting, you'd be able to tell that it went way past. Here I'm explaining that the next step is to go out with the angle grinder with a thin cutoff wheel. Hi Farley, how you doing? Anyways, I've got the extra vise set up outside and I cut it off. It went really fast. This was a really good idea. Just went real easy. I'm probably still talking in the video that has no sound, but there's the piece that got cut off. So you can see the step in it. So that's all good. And then I'm going to go in and hit this thing with the air hammer and the chisel. So here we are, partway through chiseling it out. And I'm just going to say that this wasn't necessarily one of my most brilliant ideas. That chisel kind of gouged up the inner C, the bore on it. Really, I could have probably made one more pass and made this like paper thin, and it would have probably worked better. But it is what it is. You can see that it didn't lose any real press fit or anything. So I think that's all fine. And here's the inner C with the other pieces. That's the piece that, that was a 1/2 inch thick tube, and I bored it down to that foil. There I'm showing you I had to polish my burrs off. And like I mentioned, it's still a tight fit on the tube. I tried that out. There's the flap wheel that I used to polish it up a little bit. I just don't want to have the burrs make it sit cockeyed or something. So all the high spots are gone. It's just low spots now, and low spots are relatively harmless. So anyways, I want to finish up the video here. I want to thank you for watching. I know this went over 20 minutes, and that's fairly long, but really appreciate everybody watching and everybody that subscribed, and leave comments, ask questions, whatever. I know other people have done this, and there's more than one way to do it, but go ahead, and if you got a project like this, go ahead and get after it. It's a lot of fun. So please like, please subscribe, and if you got buddies that are motorheads, whether they're into Jeeps and off-roading, whether they like snowmobiles, or whether they like motorcycles or cars, let them know about my channel. And it's a really small channel, but I'm going to keep trying to make videos and hopefully grow it. I know it's kind of all over the place, but hopefully people like that. If you do the same thing too many times, it tends to get pretty repetitive. So all right, signing off. Thanks for watching.